Good evening and welcome to Mindful Life 271. I'm your host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. It is the 15th, the day after the election, the day before one of the best days in the calendar year, might I add. Very nice day. The 16th of August is 15th of August in the year of our Lord 2023. And it's the day after our elections here in Trinidad and Tobago, the day after our local government elections at least. And that's what we're going to be talking some about today. The results of the local government elections and how that all turned out and the ramifications of it. What it says about the third parties, what it says about the run-up to general elections. What was the main focus of these elections? What does the focus say about the difference in the parties, etc., etc. Then we're heading over a bit to crime too. We're going to talk about a meth lab, somebody playing Breaking Bad out here in Trinidad and Tobago, a meth lab that was found in South, and a businessman was arrested for that, and a criminologist was talking about that, seeing that, you know, it might be the future of some of the drugs in Trinidad and Tobago. And hey, if you're talking about more affluent people opening labs in high-scale areas, that's something that may be difficult for Trinidad to deal with. And speaking of difficult to deal with in terms of the crime situation in Trinidad, we're going to also look out into the Caribbean, because it's not just the Trinidad that is having those problems with crime. I saw over in Jamaica, was it a couple of days ago over the weekend or something like that, they had an incident, a kind of gang-related incident, where... What about final results, brother? Final results with the local government elections in Jamaica, where a gang basically burnt down several houses, leaving something like 40 people homeless. And while they were burning down the house, they were shooting at people trying to run out the house. So they caught the house on fire and shot shots at people trying to escape the house. Something like 3 in the morning they were doing this. Scary, scary stuff. How many seats won by PNM and UNC? Well, it's not really about seats in the local government elections, really and truly. And also from that, the crime situation there, that gang situation in Jamaica, the gang situation in Haiti has gotten no better, where they're looking for international help, external help to go in there and bring things back under control. Right now, Haiti, at least its capital, is basically run by gangs, and that kind of gang running business creates a very unstable country. In Haiti, you have the gangs basically running everything in the capital. And I was looking over in Latin America, in Ecuador, out there, they're just killing politicians. Politicians are dying. 3 assassinations of politicians out in Ecuador over like the last 2 weeks or something like that. And that has to do with that heightened gang activity. When criminal activity gets to that kind of level, it becomes very difficult to manage for the country. So yeah, that's what we're talking about. We're getting there soon. Dalan Rice says the co-host needs to have a say. Yes, she does. Yes, she does. She's ready to jump in and have her say. So that's the stories for the evening we're going to be talking about. Make sure you hit that like button wherever you are viewing this on Instagram. Hit that like button over on TikTok. Double tap that screen. And you could do it as many times as you like. That's how the likes go up there. You don't have to like once. Keep liking it. As long as you still like it some more. Haiti's gang don is named Barbecue. That's one of the gang dons. And I believe he was a former police officer. Imagine that. The main gang leader out there in Haiti was a former police officer. Shocked anyone? But yeah, make sure you hit that like button if you are viewing this also on YouTube on repeat. Drop a comment, tell me what you think. Make sure you share it to people. That's the best way to grow things like this live and podcasts and stuff. Share it to people. Say, hey, listen to this stuff, good stuff. Next night, taking this, join the live, etc., etc., etc. So let's jump into some of those stories. Hey, co-host, stop making trouble off screen. You're making trouble off screen. Say hi to the people instead of making trouble. Say, people, hi. Hi. Say hello. All right. Let's jump in. 7-7 tie. It's 7-7 in the 14 corporations. Both the United National Congress and the People's National Movement maintain control of their respective corporations. The PNM kept the Diego Martin, Port of Spain, San Juan, Laventille, Tuna Puna, Piaco, Arima, Point Fortin, and San Fernando corporations, while the UNC retained Cuva, Tabaqui, Talparo, Mayaro, Rio Claro, Pinal Debi, Princestown, Separia, San Grande, and Chaguanas. In the last local government election, the PNM won all the seats in Diego Martin, Port of Spain, Point Fortin, and Arima corporations. Now, in 2023, the PNM won all but Arima, where it got 6 of the 7 seats, as there is a tie. There will have to be a recount there. Now, if you're going through almost all of them, thank you, Paul. Thank you, warms your No, that's my daughter, Sean. In school I was smart, but then you know how to make sure and buy. Blessings to you and your family. Thank you. 7-7 PNM 71 seats, UNC 70 out of 141. PNM made inroads. I am not sure about that, because I'm reading here in the Express, out of the 141 seats, the UNC won 72 and the PNM 69. Which is a slight change from the 2019 results, where the PNM won 72 and the UNC 67. So actually, the UNC made some inroads in this elections. Special voters ballot boxes opening up since Sunday evening. Yes, we heard about some of that talk, but almost all of it was resolved, really and truly. Like the UNC regularly does this. It kind of annoys me, to be very honest. Everything the UNC behaves sometimes like the patong dog in the yard. Every shadow they back after. Like, give us an ease up. Yes, I agree. I saw an article, someone was complaining about a picture of the Prime Minister. In one of the polling stations, and oh my goodness, if you go into the polling station on the day, someone said you might see that picture, and if you are undecided, then that picture might change your mind and make you vote one. And I'm like, really and truly, I mean, I understand in terms of propriety. Popular vote, UNC shows, UNC votes and race, PNM attracting youths. The PNM really don't need to thief any election. Parrot, you sound very, very, very PNM there, sir. Very PNM. I don't know if the PNM is attracting youth. I can't say that for sure. I haven't necessarily seen the evidence of that. To me, the PNM is a stable institution. That's what the PNM is. But for me to say they're attracting anyone, I don't see it. I don't think any party increased enthusiasm in their voting base. I don't think anyone went out there and voted for the PNM saying, yes, I really want this, or the same for the UNC. Nearly anyone voting for the PNM was more about anti-UNC voting, and anyone voting for the UNC was more anti-PNM voting to me. I don't think it was anyone increased their enthusiasm, really and truly. Good night, Otis. Most people don't vote, including myself, because we just fed up of the corruption. Yeah, high number of people do not vote. The Prime Minister said he was content, he was satisfied with these results. And for me, this was the UNC's election to make inroads into. Because the PNM in the position the PNM is in currently, it's difficult for the PNM to get enthusiasm out of voters. What is the PNM going to campaign on to get more people to run out and vote for them? It's difficult. But the UNC has things that they can campaign on. And to me, I don't think they made as many inroads as they could have. When would we as a people start to weigh pros and cons and stop tribal voting? I don't know when that's going to happen. Gaza King says just got here. Did you vote, and what's your thoughts about parties going forward? Hey, hi Sovereign Soul. As I said yesterday, I was once of the view that if you don't vote, you don't have a statement. But I have gotten more nuanced in that view. I've changed that view. And I say no, I kind of encourage people not to vote. If you don't fully understand what's going on, if you don't agree with anything, don't vote for these people. Don't select anyone that you don't agree with. So that's my view on voting and the parties going forward. Looking at the results of the local government election, though, and the third parties, because there were two main third parties in this, the NTA and the PEP, and both of them now are claiming a de facto status. No seats. Let's evaluate those two parties. No local government election win, but PEP ready for general election. Political leader of the Progressive Empowerment Party, Philip Edward Alexander, says while the party was not able to secure any districts in the local government elections, it does have reason to celebrate. We are now established as the third largest party in the country, and that there are no others besides the PNM UNC PEP going forward to 2025. There are no other horses in the race, so the job now is to get us ready for victory, Alexander said. Conceding the loss his party faced, Alexander said 2023 gave us no districts, it gave us no corporations, but it gave us a lot of pride. 2023 gave us no bragging rights to come away from, but it gave us a Trinidad and Tobago that knows now for certain that the Progressive Empowerment Party is not going anywhere. We are here to represent, we are here to grow, we're worth the vote. And you know what he said there, I was saying this since the run-up to the election. I agree with what he's saying there, and to me, what the PEP is doing here is a positive thing for Trinidad and Tobago. Ronnie says I'm slowly becoming a PEP enthusiast as they change PEA. Ah boy, where my brethren Jack when you need him? We need the opposition to pay for international observer. He does really okay. It had too many collaborations under the UNC that made them tie. If they study alone, the UNC will have win. No, that's not true. The UNC almost never wins alone. Do taxpayer money go into any of those election rallies? Probably not directly, very likely through some kind of passive way. Mr. Alexander could real talk. Yes, he can talk a lot. The conversation was not elevated to deal with the issues. People have selective memories, though. I refuse to vote for open racists. If we don't have international, we only getting rigged elections. That's not true, sovereign soul. That is not true. Trinidad and Tobago, generally speaking, has had elections pretty clear and fair for years now. Stop buying political gimmicks. It's not true. It's not true. There has been no evidence presented in decades of any serious malfeasance in Trinidad and Tobago elections. To me, Trinidad and Tobago's elections are safer than the United States elections. Their elections still have bacchanal to this day. They're currently trying to they did indict and they're looking to charge and prosecute and probably throw in jail one of their number one contenders for next president based on his accusations in the last election. So let's give that election thing a break. It's not true. 1971 rig, 1976 no vote campaign to protest rig. Yeah, I said in decades. 1971, I wasn't alive in 1971. So I said in decades. But PEP. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. You make your point. You finish? Yeah. So what PEP is saying there, yo Trini Hotep. So what PEP is saying there is that by what about those who switch allegiances of party? Well, the guy in South lost his seat. The guy who switched from UNC to PNM in South, he lost his seat. And the guy in Arima, he kept his seat. The guy who switched in Arima, he kept his seat. So, yo, Jamaica, Ledan, Stanislaus, what going on, bro? Wagwan, you know, we soon talk about Jamaica. Jamaica issue soon come up. Tonight, self, we talking Jamaica. So, what the PP is saying there is that by staying in this election, although they didn't win a seat, although they got no chairs to sit on at the end of this election, none of their candidates won anything. They put themselves on the national stage and they showed themselves that they as a party are here to stay. They are here to represent a group. And this is what I was saying about even not voting. If you don't vote, so our electorate is 1 million something, and in the after the election they see only 30% voted this election, next election it's 20, next election it's 15. What you're doing even for a third party, because third parties look at these things, what you're doing for a third party is you're telling this third party, listen, there are 1 million people out here willing and able to vote that will not vote for the top two options that are currently being presented to them. So there's a 1 million person electorate out there, community, that you could go and see if you could attract. To me, that's what the PDP did in Tobago. To me, it wasn't like the PDP in Tobago necessarily got PNM voters to switch. I believe in Tobago, what the PDP did is they were able to energize a group of people who don't usually vote. It's similar to, that's how Trump won in 2016. Trump won in 2016 because he was able to energize a group of people who don't usually vote. So he got into a patch of the electorate that no other party has. So even by not voting, you're giving that option out there. So PDP is saying that this election put them on the map more. They are the third party to note, while NTA is actually saying the same thing. NTA, now the de facto third party, insists Gary. National Transformation Alliance political leader Gary Griffith is satisfied with the outcome of the local government elections, claiming the NTA has become the de facto third party in the country. If you take the rest of the parties and add up their votes, we got more than them and we only contested 31 seats, Griffith told Guardian Media last night. At the end of the counting process, which showed a tie, yada yada yada, the leader of the 8-month-old NTA applauded his party's ability to bridge the gap in seats previously held by the PNM. Here's the problem with that to me, as I see this. No, Ronnie, what I'm saying is not that they didn't get some PNM to switch. I'm saying that their main electorate, the main base on which they won, wasn't switched PNM votes. White Leather says Trump tapped into accelerationists who wanted to own the libs. Not just them, White Leather, yes, a lot of them, but also people who are anti-elitist, people who are anti the deep state, people who found that the government in the US was becoming too bureaucratic and lots of unelected members inside the government, they're doing what they see fit, not what the electorate sees fit. And I think the people were right, because now you're seeing those same unelected people are going about basically doing everything they could to make sure Trump doesn't get into office again. I mean, all of these charges against Donald Trump, they don't add up really and truly when you look at what American presidents usually do. You think he's the only American president who has broken the law? Really? Sovereign soul, relax. Large safe seats against the PNM are still only seat, and PNM have many seats and small areas the EBC must go. What are you talking about? You see, you have to think about what you're saying, Sovereign soul. You have to think it through. The PNM and UNC is very, very hard to beat in any elections. That is very true. So what my view on what the NTA is saying here is I disagree. I don't see how you could hold yourself as the third party when your votes came as part of a partnership. You got votes in those seats from UNC voters. It wasn't just that you went out there and you were able to attract a large group of people. No. A large group of who you got as voters would have been your regular UNC voters, and they went over to you. So how could you call yourself a third party in that way? And I've said this numerous times. This is kind of my problem with third parties in Trinidad and Tobago, and that's why I like what the PEP is doing. My problem with third parties is so many of them aren't really third parties. They join as they come in as a third party, and then they quickly run off and join into an alliance with another group. What is the point of a third party then? I saw Gary Griffith was saying that, in order to get things done, let me see if I could find that. In order to get things done for the people, they have to actually be in governance. So that's why they need that. Gary Griffith was saying, Griffith said, who is a former commissioner of police and national security minister, also argued that in order for third parties to have an impact on the political landscape, it was important for them to forge strategic alliances. Mr. Griffith said, the only way we could be represented properly and to represent our citizens is by being part of a government. And the only way we can do that is by forming an alliance, he explained. But here's the issue with that. He formed the alliance with the NTA and UNC there, and they didn't form any government. Many of the alliances don't form a government. To me, I don't agree with that. That the only way you could do something for your electorate is if you are part of a government. So then what that means is you would always have to make a strategic alliance with some other party in order to join their government. I don't agree. Relax, William Granger. As soon as you mention NTA, she busts out a big yawn. This country really accustomed with corruption at its root. Sovereign Soul, you are a partisan. And if you continue just spamming the chat with partisan talking points, we'll mute you. You're not talking about the topics as they go by. You're talking points. We aren't interested in that in this chat. Because how can you be a good third party option and do alliances with one of the two major parties? Exactly. Then you are not a third party. If I don't want to vote for option 1 and I don't want to vote for option 2, you cannot actually be option 3 if you are taking my vote back to option 1. It does not work like that. You are not actually a third party in that case. Yeah, William Granger, you have a Statue of Liberty talking about Tobago issues. The uses a technique that I despise. Their politics is one of anti-PNM rhetoric. Now we're talking UNC here. Wait with your anti-PNM issues. We're talking UNC here. And if you read the chats, you see very often the discussion is going along, and someone who is a partisan to the UNC, the only point they can make is Rowley bad, Rowley hate so-and-so, the Bobby head so-and-so, the Bobby head so-and-so. A copy and paste accusation of dictator Manning, copy and pasted to Rowley dictator. And it gets so tiresome because the issues are not brought up. It's just a hate group, really and truly. And the problem is, because it's a hate group, an anti-PNM group, when they do win elections, they don't have a cohesive governing plan. And then you end up with the 2010 to 2015 fiasco. There isn't a cohesive plan. Chaos. That's why if I want a third party, if I do not want the PNM style, I do not want the UNC and their chaotic hate group style, I want a third option. If you take that third option, the COP was a beautiful third option once upon a time. They seem to have jumped into a spot, a niche spot where they were speaking about issues. The leader was an economist. Okay, people were going along, and then they jumped into the UNC alliance where all of the issues went into PNM bad, PNM evil, kick out the PNM. Oh my goodness. And all of a sudden, COP dies. Third parties who join major parties just want overnight success. That's my conclusion. Well, the former commissioner basically said something like that. He believes that in order to get work done for the people, you need to be in government. You need to be in a place of power. So you need to join alliances to get that power. White Leather says, well, the highest court of ours did say he acted illegally in not calling the LGE, yes. So who is he to talk about breaking the law? 500 billion. Oh, jeez, oh, jeez, oh, jeez. William Granger, relax. Relax. It grinds my gears because sometimes because I read the UNC groups and the talking points. Like, don't use talking points. Think for yourself. Talking points make you seem like an automaton, like a robot. Nobody needs you if you come spout talking points. They could delete you and hire a bot to just copy and paste the talking points from the group chat. You aren't a human being. Cole says politics divides the people, so for your own good, stay away from it because we as citizens do have a voice. Politics can divide the people, but it is also a necessary part of life. That's just the reality. Let's look at how our politics runs to. And this to me is the problem I had with the local government. The problem I had with the local government elections. Let's look at these two stories and pose them next to each other. See what both parties offered the country for local government and see if it makes sense. Hey, Darius over on Instagram, glad my #1 fan could tune in. Glad you could tune in, Darius. This is what both parties sold the country as the offer they were offering for the local government elections. UNC, guns will cost PNM paradise. The UNC predicted it would retain a key marginal seat in the local government elections, in the marginal constituency of Tunapuna. Party spokesman Hamlin Jailal told Newsday half hour before the 6 p.m. close of polls on election day Monday. And he was talking there about, he was standing at the polls watching and he was saying that it doesn't seem like the PNM has great enthusiasm in that seat. It doesn't seem like they're going to lose, like they're going to win that seat. And here's the reasoning he said. Clearly the message of crime has resonated well. This is local government elections. This is what the party spokesman is saying in Tunapuna. Clearly, the message of crime has resonated well. It is happening. You can't even say on a daily basis, on an hourly basis. So while you are getting set to vote, you are hearing of someone who was just murdered or robbed. I think people feel, well, look, we must try someone else who can probably effect change and make our country a safer place. I feel the result of tonight will reflect that. I don't know how many of you could see the problem there. This is local government elections. The UNC party representative, party spokesperson, is saying that he believes the UNC's message of crime has resonated well. So it clearly was a strategy they were using for local government elections. He believes that people going out to vote will feel, well, look, we must try someone else who can probably effect change and make our country a safer place. The problem with that is there is literally no one you can vote for in the local government elections that can institute anything to make your community a safer place with regards to national security. The messaging is a lie. They are lying to you. If you go out to the voting booth and what is on your mind is that I'm going to vote for someone to make my community a safer place, you are being hoodwinked. No one you vote for in the booth at local government election time could affect national security. That's not what you are voting for. That's like, okay, you're going to CXC exams here. You have CXC math, you have CXC English. You reach the CXC math exams and you start to write an essay. You could write the best essay ever. It's the wrong exam. No one is going to read your math paper and mark it on English grammar and the sentence construction of your wonderful imaginative essay. William Granger, if you continue off topic, talking point spamming, you are going to be muted. That's not what we do here. That's not what we do here. You can talk about the points, but we're not doing that narrative spamming business. This is your last chance, William Granger. If you want to continue in the live, you talk about the points at hand. You don't spam narratives copied and pasted from party groups. We don't do that here. We know what the party groups say. Thank you. But it's not just the UNC. Because let's look at the PNM's messaging too. Prime Minister, PM, local government reform coming regardless of election results. The Prime Minister said regardless of the result of the local government elections on Monday, government will still press on with local government reform. He made this statement after voting at the International School of Port of Spain in West Moorings on Monday. But here's the issue for me. The PNM went out there and said this local government election is about local government reform. So, if you vote for a PNM candidate, you are voting for local government reform. Again, that was incorrect. Because on the day of the election, the Prime Minister is saying the local government reform, obviously, comes either way. So, why should someone have voted for the PNM? You said we were voting for local government reform, but the local government reform is coming either way. So then we are not voting for local government reform. Why should we vote for you? Tell me. Why should we vote for you? You campaigned on something saying, well, this is what you should vote for. This is what you should vote for. Okay. But it doesn't matter whether I voted for it or not. And this is my issue. So many Trinidadians, and that's why I say it's best you don't vote if you don't understand these things. So many Trinidadians went out and voted for local government reform that was coming whether you voted or not, or voted to increase their community security, which has nothing to do with the elections. So you went out there, spent the time in the line, stained your finger pink or whatever color the ink is, for what? Lies from both sides. Lies from both sides. What's the point? And you see, the problem in this is it obfuscates what local government election is supposed to be about. To me, local government elections doesn't even need TV adverts. You don't even need radio adverts. Local government elections is this, what I think, for me, my ideal, in my perfect world, what local government election means is each person, each candidate walks through their community and speaks to each person in the community, finding out what the issues are and how they could solve those issues in the community. That's local government elections. That's what it's about. Local government reform is about 50 years in the making. Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the times some of this has to do with the fact that our citizens don't pay attention. They aren't concerned about the actual issues at hand. Have yet to see my candidate. Me too. I saw neither of my candidates, so I voted for neither of them. None of them saw it fit to speak to me and ask me a question. So why should I vote? And you know, I was looking at something. The reason many people join with those larger parties, the reason very often you see smaller parties join with the larger parties, because the larger parties have a machinery at work already. If you are a smaller party, help with what? If you are a smaller party and you're trying to make inroads there, it's very difficult to fight against the machinery of those larger parties. So I was watching, like in my district, on election morning, cars are pulling up to houses, beep 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 beep, one sort of loud obnoxious horns calling people by name. Oi, Tanti so and so, you're going to vote or what? Come and vote now, come, let we go. Because they have the names, they have their list, they have the residents and the addresses. They will go and carry you to vote, and they are being paid all day to ferry voters to and from the voting booths. As a small party, you don't have that kind of machinery and resources. You never. There are some of those people that are loyal since the URP cycle in 1990 to 95. They've been a URP foreman since the 90s, so they have loyalty for whichever party they do. As a new party, that's hard to make an inroad in. So I understand why the alliances are made. It's hard to get those things running on your own. But to me, for many people who don't want the two main parties, they don't want those things. So when you ally yourself with those things, you ally yourself with what the people do not want. Trini Hotep says, I've seen more of the youth spokespeople than I have seen of the actual candidates. Jacques says, they call my phone to ask if I needed transportation. You see? You see? They don't, well, in my region, they don't call your phone. They pull up in front of your house blowing their horn. That's the machinery at work. That's the machinery at work. Speaking about working machinery, now we're talking about the working machinery of labs. So I'm applying to UE, but I'm applying with a US high school diploma, but they want to evaluate it to CSEC. Don't they have an option for foreign qualifications? So to be very honest with you, I haven't dealt with UE in a very, very long time. And all of the times when I did deal with UE, no one really knew what was going on. I always make this point. All the years of registering to UE, it seems like I have never gone to a registration for the University of the West Indies where everyone knew exactly what to do. You go to the admin building and the people in the admin building are confused. They send you to your faculty. You go to your faculty, the people in there are confused. They send you to the dean, and you go in circles and circles and circles till you maybe kind of get the things you need. That's kind of how it has always been. And it's confusing to me, really and truly, because it's the same university. I'd have thought that by now they could figure out how to register students, but it's a confusing process. But to me, there should be an option there for an alternative. I don't know. All right, but speaking of, the machinery at work here in Trinidad and Tobago, there was recently a bust, a very interesting bust in South. Chinese businessman charged for San Fernando meth lab. Imagine that. A 32-year-old Chinese businessman is expected to appear before a San Fernando magistrate on Tuesday, charged with possession of methamphetamine for the purpose of trafficking and possession of an apparatus. He was arrested last Thursday when special branch officers executed a search at the residence's South Park, San Fernando. They discovered a clandestine laboratory, cash, precursor chemicals, and packets of crystals of various sizes resembling methamphetamine. Police said it was the first methamphetamine laboratory in Trinidad and Tobago. Yikes! Breaking Bad has touched down apparently. Breaking Bad has touched down. I saw a few people in my area that I've never seen before, including NTA with a bunch of Vennies. Yikes. It was in the residential area around there. White leather. A whole meth lab. Now, to be honest, when I first saw this story, I wanted to know, first up, to be very honest with you, how the Trinidad and Tobago police pull that one off? Like, how did they figure that out? How were they able to bust this guy? And then, in the next line, they say the police said the discovery followed an extensive intelligence-led operation in partnership with U.S. law enforcement agencies. The Chinese national is represented by attorneys Larry Williams and Tony Roberts. So it seems like the guy may have been out there procuring some of his chemicals from the US. Somehow he interfered with US business, and US law enforcement came on the trail, and I would surmise that had a lot to do with how he got caught in the long run, because I don't see Trinidad and Tobago Police Service just pulling that off randomly just so. The scary thing, though, is that a criminologist was commenting. Criminologist warns more meth labs likely in TNT, and of course, if there was one that could have been self-contained in a high price apartment residential area, do you think that would be the only one? This would have been swept if it wasn't for US intel. I think so. That's to show our level of crime is evolving in TNT, and younger people, especially Generation Z, are susceptible to new offenses due to technology, economic deprivation, social media, and ongoing effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. This was the sentiment expressed by the head of the UE Criminology Department, Dr. Randy Sipasad, who told Guardian he was not surprised by the discovery of a meth lab at the residences at South Park, San Fernando on Thursday. According to the United States National Institute on Drug Abuse, meth users are at an increased risk of infections such as HIV, Hep B and C. Long-term use can lead to dental problems, itching that can cause skin sores, changes in brain structure, memory loss, paranoia, and more. Meth is stuff to really mess up the country. I don't know how well it might catch on. It might have to do with the costing, the cost as relative to the crack cocaine that seems to be the drug of choice for most of the lower level drug users. But if meth slips in there, that's not a positive thing for Trinidad and Tobago. And as it stands in Trinidad and Tobago, we don't produce our own cocaine. I mean, we do morph the crack compound, but we don't produce cocaine in and of itself, while meth could be produced by a lab right on the island. That's a scary line. I wonder how much the meth going for. I have no idea, sir. I am not involved in such trades. I do not know the going price of meth. To be very honest, I have no idea how it's sold. Like, I'm a Trini. We don't know this kind of highfalutin thing. I know grass and the little pebble stuff that the pipers is lose on the road right through. That's the kind of stuff I know. These crystal stuff, these are out of our regular modus operandi. I just don't know. I don't know how those things go. But I could tell you I don't want it in the country. It doesn't seem to me the evidence isn't yet out there that meth is widely used among the Trinidad and Tobago population. There isn't evidence for that yet, but we don't want that, really and truly. We do not want it. And, you know, speaking about crime, something I saw, an article I saw, and a problem again that I will bring up again because I saw it again. Shogunas driver charged with raping, robbing, stabbing Venezuelan teen. I don't know how many of you were familiar with this story. I don't really like to talk about some of these stories because to me there isn't much news to talk about and it's just sometimes really sour, the entire story. But a Venezuelan teenager was assaulted grievously last week or something like that by a taxi driver in Shogunas. Now, I was reading this story and I was thinking, you know, when I first read this story, I was like, this is a guy that they're supposed to find. They're supposed to find this guy. But then now I'm reading, okay, they did find the guy. And listen to this. A 58-year-old man was granted $400,000 bail when he appeared before a Shogunas magistrate yesterday, charged with kidnapping and raping a Venezuelan minor. How do you get bail for something like that? Like these are the questions I always ask. Like, and from my understanding of legal of the legal framework on these things, it's not like the judges are forced to give bail. Bail isn't a compulsory thing here. It's on the judge's view. This guy was charged with kidnapping, raping, stabbing a minor Venezuelan migrant. Like, there are just so many issues to compound this. And okay, maybe if it was like, you know, you're really not sure if it's the guy, you know, it's a very iffy thing, then you give him bail because maybe it's an innocent guy. The idea of bail, the principle of bail is that you don't want to throw an innocent person in jail and you haven't yet convicted them of the crime. Really and truly, you do not want to give bail if you know the person is guilty. Even if you haven't convicted them yet, you want them in jail if they're guilty. You want them to stay there from the moment you charge them, really and truly. So you know he did. Well, here's the issue. This is the thing that I find strange. Denniston Spence, and I'm calling the guy's name, Denniston Spence of Shogunas was charged with 2 counts of sexual penetration of a child, kidnapping, false imprisonment, indecent assault, malicious wounding, larceny, and possession of an offensive weapon when he appeared before the Shogunas Second Magistrates Court. He was not called upon to plead for 7 of the offenses. If you're not called upon to plead, it's because they believe the evidence against you is so strong that they don't need you to say if you're guilty or not. But he did plead guilty to the charge of larceny. So he kind of admits that, yeah, I was the guy involved in the incident. So it doesn't even seem like there's a question mark over this thing. How does he get bail? I'd really like to know, like, what's the reasoning behind that? As a condition of his bail, he is to report to the Marabella police station between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. 2 days a week and not have any contact with the victim or her immediate family, whether in person, social media, or a third party. And here's the thing. If this guy broke the law and violated someone, what is the law going to do to him now? He has already shown that he doesn't care about the law. So why give him instructions? Like, what's the point of that? Don't you think he didn't know that it was against the law to kidnap and brutally assault this child? Do you think he didn't know that when he did it? So now you're going to arrest him, give him bail, and give him new rules for him to follow, when he has just established he doesn't care to follow the rules. I despise these things. And to me, I look at our court system and I could kind of agree with the statement that our Minister of National Security made not too long ago. It really does seem like our judicial system is friendly to some of the criminal elements. You could blame the police and the corruption inside of the police service, but to me, I would say that, like, whatever percentage the corruption is inside of the police service, it would at least have to be mirrored by the judicial system for the situation to continue as is. If we had an honest judiciary and a dishonest police service, there would have been problems. If we had an honest police service and a dishonest judiciary, there would have been problems. But I think for them to be continuing working together against the population of Trinidad, as it seems sometimes, there needs to at least be, whatever you like, say you think there's a 50-50 level of bad police to good police, whatever that rate is, I think it's at least the same inside of the judiciary. It's not a coincidence. It's ridiculous at some point in time. Every single one of the regular criminals are out on bail. They arrest a murderer, he has 3 pending charges he's out on bail for. And they arrest him for attempted murder or murder for some other thing. And what do you know? He goes to court and he's out by the weekend again. Something doesn't seem to add up. And the thing is, these kinds of issues lead to somewhere. For instance, have we ever had a survey about how many people in this country using drugs? We've had some surveys, yes, and it's according to what drugs you're talking about, how hard the drugs are, or how mild, what level of drugs you're talking about. But yes, there have been surveys. And yeah, this crime and criminality leads to a point. It doesn't just stay at the point, it keeps increasing. When you give criminals more power, so these people that you release on bail, they understand, hey, I could move within the system with the rules that I want to. They are not going to stay at one level. They will accelerate. We're seeing some of that coming out of Jamaica. A Jamaican was inside of the live. I don't know if he's still there. Gregory Park's morning of terror. What happened? Gunmen fired on residents fleeing their burning homes, forcing them back into the fiery structures, according to a preliminary report of the early morning terror that gripped Gregory Park, St. Catherine, leaving 1 person dead and more than 40 homeless. The attack took place at 17 and 44 Walkers Avenue and at the intersection of Cottage Drive in the dark of Saturday morning. A police report said that the carnage started sometime after 3:30 a.m. 3:30 in the morning, people sleeping, when a group of men, and I believe now they're saying women were involved too, armed with rifles and handguns, made their way to 44 Walkers Avenue, where the fire victims were asleep. The attackers allegedly threw oil on the houses and set them ablaze. They later opened gunfire, which awoke the occupants. Whilst the occupants were escaping from the burning buildings, the gunmen opened fire at them, which they had to retreat inside the burning houses, the report said. One of the residents sustained burns all over her body and is in the hospital in serious condition. At 17 Walkers Avenue, 28-year-old taxi operator Rampunch Horton, who was reportedly sitting on a white Toyota Probox motorcar with a friend, was shot dead. Both men reportedly heard loud explosions and the guy was shot. Yeah. Yeah. That's in Jamaica. The backstory is gang war. There has been escalating gang war going on in that region. Gregory Park is in Portmore, Portmore, Badman area, which is part of the St. Catherine South Police Division. The area has been witnessing an upsurge in gang-related violence in recent months. Gang war. Very likely a reprisal for something from the other side. And the Jamaican Prime Minister visited the area. Of course, you know, those kind of things oftentimes warrant a closer look from the political directorate. And in visiting the area, preemptive strike, PM mulls new laws to tackle terrorists. Commish says Gregory Park thugs will be dealt with in the most forceful fashion. Prime Minister Andrew Holness said that there might be need for legislation that allows the security forces to take preemptive action against criminal gangs. His comment comes in the wake of a devastating terror attack that left more than 45 residents homeless, including women and children in Gregory Park, Portmore over the weekend. Addressing the affected residents during a visit to the community yesterday, Holness highlighted the gravity of the situation, emphasizing that the actions of these criminal gangs, whom he referred to as terrorists, not only wreak havoc on innocent lives, but also pose a significant threat to national security. And while specific details of the legislation Holness has in mind are yet to be disclosed, he suggested that it may include provisions to enhance law enforcement's capacity to combat organized crime by acting preemptively. But on innocent people, I'm sure the houses had children. Well, Ronnie, that's not hard to understand, you know. Gangs control territory. So if I am a warring gang and I'm warring with the gang that controls this territory and the war has accelerated to a certain point, whoever is inside of the homes in that territory would be punished for it. Smell says, I think once you get arrested with a handgun, automatic 10 years and a rifle 15 instant. Well, those laws, the problem with some of that is how long does it take to convict the person, Smells? How long does it take to convict the person? And like as Wide Leather says, yeah, more laws, that'll teach them. That's exactly it. In Jamaica there's already a law against burning down people's houses and shooting them. There are already laws against that. And you can't stop them. What's the new law you're going to put into place? How is that going to work? Preemptive strikes? How are you going to tackle them before they do the crime? What are you going to charge people with before they do the crime? That's a difficult thing. Now, to me, I could see some things working in the line of El Salvador, where you arrest people for just being in gangs, and anyone who wants to call themselves a gangster, well, you go to jail with all the rest of gangsters. I could understand something like that working, and especially in the context of the language that the Jamaican Prime Minister is using. If you are calling these gangsters terrorists and you treat them like terrorists, well, then you attack them like that, and okay, in that case it makes sense, but in the just run-of-the-mill laws, I don't see how you're going to work that. Yes, Minority Report stuff. I don't understand how you're going to work that. And to me, the danger some of these things lead to, on the ultimate side of it, the ultimate end of a lot of this. And this is where Trinidad and Tobago is staring. Trinidad and Tobago is staring this kind of situation directly in its eyes. Because all the criminals out on bail and running around free, and any big boy in jail is able to freely talk to the outside of the jail and that kind of stuff. This is where it ultimately leads to. Political leader in Ecuador is killed less than a week after presidential candidate's assassination. The unprecedented violence shaking Ecuador claimed the life of another political leader Monday, bringing the number of politics-related slayings within the last 4 weeks to 3, including that of a presidential candidate. So a party leader, a presidential candidate, and the mayor of, I believe, their third largest city in Ecuador were murdered within the last month. And you see, this is the issue that some of these politicians are playing around with. By not tackling crime at this stage, this is where it heads. This is where it leads to. When the criminals start to learn that, okay, we don't only attack the lower levels of society, we attack the higher levels too when they don't go along with what we want. This is where it leads. Bear in mind, Trinidad and Tobago is the country where one of our top prosecutors was murdered in the capital city, Dana Sitahal. Let's not forget that. This is where these situations lead. If our political class is being killed, then you know the society is going extremely downhill. Well, White Leather, White Leather says we there, lest we forget the firebombing of the house in San Juan Old Road. But that was gangster to gangster. It's still there, like Jamaica. That's still in the Jamaica level, where it's gangster to gangster. We aren't yet at that kind of Ecuador level where the gangsters are looking to make political inroads. Because if you reach at that level, those politicians that go on platforms and say incendiary things, and they aren't too worried about it because they think they're above the fray, they'll realize they are no longer above the fray. Who is a criminal? It sounds like you does defend these genocidal politicians. Who genocidal politicians? Genocide has a specific meaning. Which politicians you know currently are genocidal? Name them. Trini Hoteps, yeah. Yeah, I know White Leather, but that was the one recent on our minds. That's the direction. And the final evolution, to go to the final spot, UN chief urges deployment of police special forces and military support to combat gangs in Haiti. The United Nations chief urged the international community on Tuesday to deploy a multinational force comprising police special forces and military support units to Haiti to combat gangs with sophisticated weapons and restore security to the impoverished nation. Secretary General Antonio Guterres said in a 12-page letter to the UN Security Council obtained by the Associated Press that addressing the security situation in Haiti requires a range of coercive law enforcement measures, including active use of force in targeted police operations against heavily armed gangs. If you want to read what they said in the UN there, you could read it. And this is some of the most diplomatic terms I see for the UN basically outright saying we need to go to war against the Haitian gangs. The international community is saying that we basically have to get an international force to go in and war with the Haitian gangs to restore order. That's where it reaches. Because at this point, Haiti cannot help itself. The gangs have become so strong that no internal forces inside of Haiti could get rid of them on their own. As I've said before, the police service, to some extent, law enforcement, is basically the group that has the monopoly on violence. Who could be the strongest group that make sure no other group could commit violence against them? Could become the de facto police force. And in the case of Haiti, the gangs have become like that. The police force isn't strong enough to get rid of the gangs. So now the international community is looking to try and get some kind of combination of forces to go in there. And it's kind of like a hot potato. Nobody exactly wants to do it. The US, you see, there are many issues there. Many countries have gone into Haiti before, and many of the countries that have gone into Haiti before have done some horrific things in the name of help. So many countries might be tentative to send in forces there. How do you know that your forces are only going to take care of the Haitian gangs and not do any other kind of oppressive stuff inside of the country? It's a difficult situation. Police becoming gang dons seems like a lateral move. The US is one of them. Yes, the US is one of them. So right now it seems like Kenya, because Kenya has volunteered to lead the mission. So Kenya seems like they would be the leading group inside of the mission to retake Haiti. And the problem right now seems that even Kenya, inside of Kenya, people are complaining that the Kenyan police force is oppressive. The Kenyan police force is killing civilians, etc., etc., etc. over in Kenya, and people are worried, okay, if the Kenyan police service in Kenya is behaving a little crazy, are you going to send them all the way over to Haiti and expect them to behave better? Problems all around. But to me, a lot of these issues are kind of peep into the future for Trinidad and Tobago. We aren't yet there. Even though, you know, there are naysayers who always are sure Trinidad is already there. Give us an ease up, please. Like, think realistically. We aren't actually there yet. We are not yet at the stage in Jamaica where they firebomb a whole row of houses. They firebombed one house in Trinidad, and that was a significant incident. And even that incident precipitated some police action, and there were arrests made, lest we forget. Let's not always think of the police in the negative light. When they do something, they do something. But Jamaica still, to me, is a step further from there, and then a step further from there is the Ecuadorian side, where they're attacking the political class. We're not there yet. We don't see many of our politicians targeted, so we're not there yet. And then a step further from that is the Haitian situation, where we see a total fallen state, it would seem, where the gangs are now in control of the state and the government, at least of the cities. That's the direction it's headed in. Which way, Trinidad? Which way? Alright, people. That's all I have for now. Any comments or questions inside of the chat before I dive out? I need some help with a sore throat. If you know I hate sore throats, if you know how I hate sore throats. Plenty water, get a hard candy, a lozenge or something. I despise sore throats. I don't think punching will work in a wide leather. Punching might just burn it up and make you forget that it was burning from the sore throat first. Alright, people, if there are no further questions or comments inside of the live, that's all I have for now. I'm going to call it a good night, people. I hope you were educated, informed, or entertained. This has been the Mindful Live. Hit that like button. If you are looking at this over on that YouTube repeat, make sure to hit that like button before you go. Drop a comment, tell me what you think. Share it. Tell somebody, hey, taking this, good news, good stuff, current affairs. Share it to people, tell them taking that stuff, tell them go subscribe. You all could head over to Nathan Springer on YouTube and subscribe there. We're closing in on the 1,000 mark. Closing in on the 1,000 subscriber mark. Go push me over that 1,000 subscriber level. Subscribe to Nathan Springer over there. Follow Mindful Education over on Instagram. September is coming up. You know, classes, school is reopening. We have our pod classes that are ongoing, homeschool style, small classes for learning stages from preschool all the way up to CXC. We have those pod classes even specialized in mathematics and English also, if you are interested for the CXC levels. And also we have individual one-on-one tutoring in person for more CXC and CAPE subjects if you need that specific attention. You think, you know, I'm really lapsing in this subject, I'm really slipping, or you know someone who is really slipping and really needs that one-on-one attention, well, contact us at Mindful Education and we will send you a tutor. Alright folks, that's all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. I am Nathan Springer. This has been the Mindful Live, and I will see you guys again for the next Mindful Live, which is going to be tomorrow evening around that 9:30 p.m. time. Tomorrow is Wednesday. We're talking Tobago tomorrow. So the Tobagonians who don't like the Trinis talking Tobago, don't tune in tomorrow. because we're talking Tobago. Ronnie, around, approximately, on average. Say the word tutor. 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 Yes, yes. Yes, I see you all laughing. I see you all laughing. I can see the laughs. Yes. Around, approximately, average time around 9:30. Hang around, because you know sometimes on occasion the time has a bit of variance where you know we enter sometimes a little 9:35, 9:40, 9:45. There have been occasional rare occasion where we have started closing in on 10, but between that 9:30 to 10 time, you know, we start then. So I will see you guys tomorrow, and if we are not here, we will say so on the Discord server. You could join the Discord server by clicking the link on my profile over on TikTok. You click that link and you join the server, and we could discuss this. You know, sometimes the chat a little dry in the Discord server, but whenever we miss, you'll know in the Discord server. So those folks in the Discord server always know if there's not going to be a live. All right, people, I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained again for the third time, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace. I'm out. Hold it on. Stay well.